That's a way to start. How you doing, Tim? Feeling good?
I am doing fantastic, Dr. Steve.
Awesome. Hey, guys, I'm Dr. Steve.
And I'm Dr. Tim, and we're the Ouch Doctors.
You know, we're here today because we realize there are a lot of people out there who are in chronic pain. In fact, according to research, 20% of the U.S. population has chronic pain. That's about 66 million Americans in pain.
And we're so concerned about that because healthcare for persistent pain is totally outdated, incredibly expensive, often dangerous, and not very effective.
And there is a better way. And the purpose of this month-long masterclass called New Thinking About Old Pain is to share safe, effective mind-body strategies and approaches that save money, save time, and get results.
And today's inaugural episode, we're going to be talking about the purpose of pain.
And this is going to be awesome. I'm really excited. So what do you say we just jump right in and get ourselves going? For the next 15 minutes, we are going to look at some very important aspects of pain. And today, one particular aspect of pain that influences every other aspect of pain, and that is, why do you have it?
And once you get clear about this is a biggie because the rest of the journey is going to be a lot easier and make a lot more sense. So we're super excited to give you this new frame of reference.
That's right. Before we do, just take a moment if you're on YouTube and click that little red arrow in the lower right-hand corner to subscribe to our channel. We've got lots to share with you over the next several weeks, and we want to make sure that you're with us the whole way and that you become part of our tribe.
Oh, yeah. And also, we know you're going to have questions as we go down this master class. And the cool thing about the app that we're using is you can ask away. You can type it right in from your screen. So let her rip. We may not be able to answer all the questions in real time, but we're going to certainly save them and refer back to them and get them answered. And remember, if you're not asking a question, then you're not helping anybody else because there's other people that just won't ask questions. So don't be shy. Ask your questions. You're helping others by doing so.
Absolutely. And stick around to the very end. We're going to give you one giant tip to ease your pain this week.
Yeah, and one more thing. We're not your doctors. We're not your therapists. You probably love your medical doctor, your physical therapist, your chiropractor, or your mental health specialist. We're not going to provide any opinion or recommendations on what you should or should not do regarding your health choices. That's up for you and your awesome team of pros. What we do hope that you do is listen, think, take notes, do the one giant tip that we share at the end of each of these shows, and generate some questions for your health team the next time you see them and ask them.
Makes a lot of sense. So why do we have pain? What's its purpose? You know, as chiropractors, holistic doctors, and mindset experts, Dr. Tim and I have looked at this from every possible angle. Right, Tim?
Absolutely, yes. And one thing we want to make sure we do right off the bat is define chronic pain. What is old pain? We can take our shoes off and walk around and step on a sharp rock and have pain, but we're not talking about acute pain that's designed just from like a little injury or a burn or something like that. We're talking about persistent pain that's been in your life for weeks or months and years, or is recurrent in nature. That's the kind of old pain that we're talking about.
And it's also important for us to
I also should just say, jump in right here.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Steve.
Okay, well, I was going to say, you know, the other thing, guys, is we're not talking about life-threatening issues or concerns. If you've got something that's life-threatening that's also causing you pain, obviously, more important than anything else is to make sure that you're dealing with the cause of that problem and with the pain in whatever possible way you can. We also want to make sure that we make the distinction that there are lifestyle changes that you might need to make in order to help yourself out of pain. So if you're making very poor lifestyle choices and you're experiencing pain as a result of those choices, there's not a lot that anybody's going to be able to do for you.
Right. Thanks for jumping in with that. And Dr. Steve, as you know, I'm primarily a spine doctor. I've been a chiropractor for 35 years, and I know you're a retired chiropractor as well. But I want you to know that pain is real. It's not all in your head, and it's definitely not your fault. So sometimes when we share this information, people think, are you telling me that my pain's all in my head? Farthest thing from the truth. Chronic pain is 100% in your brain, and we'll explain that as we go.
And
But
that's
it
an
is not not something you just dreamed up.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing because when we do start teaching people about the mental and mindset side of pain, that's where they jump to, because that's what they've heard doctors say to them when the doctor couldn't figure out what the problem was, where the issue was in their tissues. Well, it's all in your head. You're just making it up. That's far from the truth. But again, as Tim said, it's not all in your head, but it's in your brain. That's a strange dichotomy, but we're going to help tease that out for you as we go along here today.
We definitely are. And with my pain clients and my coaching for people in chronic pain, this first few times together is going to be the most important. And I call that knowledge therapy, because as a society, we've been used to taking drugs and maybe having surgery or going to physical therapy and just outside in effects, just doing things from the outside in, but not working from the inside out. And we need to learn that there's a different way, that it's just not taking a stronger and stronger medication to help with chronic pain. That's not working in this day and age. We know that from the opioid crisis. But this first few classes that we'll do together, and just like my first few coaching visits with my new clients, is all about knowledge therapy. And I've had people get remarkable results just by learning more about what pain is and is not.
Exactly. So Tim has a saying. He says, knowledge first. And I absolutely 100% agree with that. The kind of knowledge that you need to have is not only knowledge about what pain is and what pain isn't, but also how your body reacts and responds to it, and knowledge of yourself, knowledge of what's going on inside of you in any one given moment. So we really want to tease that out with you here today, because as Tim says, Dr. Tim says, the opioid crisis is a great demonstration to us that drugs are not the answer to our problems, that there are problems with the drugs themselves. And what's interesting, I think, Tim, is looking back over our days in the world of chiropractic being essentially a drug-free therapy approach, we would often say that that the outcome that we seek is not to treat the symptom, but rather to treat the underlying cause.
Sure is.
And now, on the other hand, sometimes with chronic pain, there's only so far we can go with the outer cause. And that might leave you feeling that the only thing that's left for you to do is to take drugs, because, well, if we can't treat the cause and we are going to treat the symptom, does that mean that we need to take drugs in order to treat the symptom? And so what do you have to say to that, Tim?
Well, I mean, it's the outside in approach. It's not an inside out approach. And that's why it fails so much. And people just end up staying on drugs for way too long and having to take stronger and stronger ones, and sometimes even having surgery, and which is can be permanently crippling. So yeah. And one thing, and sometimes my friends in the chiropractic profession get a little mad at me about that, but it's simply because they just don't quite understand what I'm saying here. And I treated over 250,000 people as a chiropractor before I retired from patient care. And I think everybody should go to a chiropractor, but not necessarily for pain. Chiropractic's very beneficial for pain, but it's a bigger ticket item than that. And it's just more about relieving interferences on your nervous system and just overall wellness and health. So everybody should go to a chiropractor. But sometimes we can fall into the trap of treating things and just being another modality to treat pain. And I don't feel that that's a good thing.
That's a really interesting point. I want to say a few words about pain as we relate to our own pain. There's an analogy that I like to use of a fire alarm. And so see if you can get your head wrapped around this idea, guys. Imagine that you live in a house and you've got a fire alarm in that house. And it's a really high-tech fire alarm. It's an awesome fire alarm. And one day there's a fire in your house. And what happens? The alarm goes off and it signals the neighborhood, and it signals the firemen, and they come to your house and they put out the fire. Now, what happens if the firemen forget, after they put out the fire, to turn off the alarm, to reset the alarm? Well, now you've got a problem on your hands. Tim, how would you like to live in a house that's got a fire alarm going off 24/7?
Not me, bro, because that's kind of happened to me sometimes, driving me nuts.
Yeah, it could drive you crazy. You've got that constant reminder, that constant signal that something's wrong, when in fact, maybe nothing's wrong. Or maybe let's say you live in a house and there's a fireplace, and there's a fire in the fireplace. And because the alarm is set wrong, it's constantly going off. Well, you already know there's a fire. You know there's nothing to worry about in regard to that fire. And so you don't want that fire alarm triggering off a signal that's not of any value to you. In fact, one of the things that we tell people, Tim, is that if you're living in a house with a fire alarm going off all the time, number one, it's having a major impact on your quality of life. Nobody's happy listening to alarm bells going off all the time. Secondly, you kind of given up your free will, your ability to live your life on your own terms or do the things you want to do. And most importantly, what happens is that if that fire alarm is going off constantly, what happens if you have a new fire? What if there's another fire, an out of control fire somewhere in the house? How would you know? The alarm's already going off all the time, right? Well, take that back to your pain. If your pain, your chronic pain, the pain that's been lingering and hanging with you over the course of time for months or years, is going on all the time, and it's happening while you're simultaneously aware already of the problem. You've done everything you can about the problem. Is that alarm, is that pain doing you any good at all?
Right. Well said, Steve. And it dovetails right into lifestyle choices. Our pain is really related to our lifestyle choices, whether there be good or bad. And that's really what the latest research out there kind of says. And did you want to finish up that analogy first?
No, I think I made the point. Go on. Yeah.
All right, got it. Well, it's all about lifestyle. And there's 125 years ago, a guy named D.D. Palmer came up with his theories, and a lot of them don't hold water today. But one of the ones that I love was that he thought that all disease was caused by toxins, thoughts, and trauma, which is kind of an archaic term. But what that means is injuries or accidents is the trauma, and what your nutrition is the toxins, and thoughts is just our mental component. And I've really, that's been updated a number of times, even by me on my second book. But that's really, if we keep an eye on the balance of lifestyle in our body and in our chemistry, which is our nutrition, and in our thought process, we will have great longevity, wonderful health for the rest of our life, and our pain, if we have it, will be greatly decreased. So we're going to be talking a lot about lifestyle choices in our course that we're going to be teaching over the next month. And in my opinion, I don't know about you, Steve, I think that nutrition is important to pay attention to for chronic pain. So we'll talk a little bit about that down the road. But for me, the vast majority of chronic pain is related to the mental component.
Absolutely.
And most people think it's in their body. They think it's in their body. They injured, they fell, I had an old car accident. And it's not it. And that's why care today is really in a quandary. And that's why Dr. Steve and I are doing this show.
Absolutely. The whole idea that our minds have a very profound effect on how we experience pain and how we experience our overall well-being is something that most people are aware that there might be some sort of connection, but they don't realize how strong and powerful that connection can be, nor how capable we are as individuals of changing things through our thought. One of the folks who was here with us today, I believe, was telling me a story about her own personal health and well-being, and how by doing some very deliberate work with her thinking, she was able to reverse years and years and years of pain. So let's make sure that we spend a bunch of time over the course of the next several days and weeks talking about how your thoughts are impacting your pain and how you literally hold within your hands the power to change your perception of pain.
Absolutely, Stephen. One thing, if I could, before we move on to the next stage, just by being here, everybody being here and listening to this, you're actually healing. One of the concepts that we're going to share is called neuroplasticity, which is it's just kind of rewiring the nerve pathways in our body. Remember, we said that pain was 100% in the brain? Well, it's because of patterns and pathways in the brain that we all have. And when one is in chronic pain, there's been constant recirculation of etched grooves into those pathways of pain. And so it's so much easier to be in pain and to stay in pain. So by doing something different than that, hence being on this particular course right now, is that you start to retrain those pathways and re-etch those pathways towards more healing. So you're healing right now as you spend time with Dr. Steve and myself.
So that's a real point. That really is the case, because you see what happens is the moment you set an intention, It may make you make a choice to look at things in a new way. You're upping your level of knowledge. And as you do, you're sort of silently saying to your own subconscious mind, I'm ready and I'm willing to look at this in a new way. You know, one of the greatest interferences to our well-being is a sense of complacency or a sense of hopelessness. And I've treated lots and lots and lots of people over the years who come to me feeling hopeless. Let's face it, if you've been in chronic pain for a long time and you've tried everything or everything you think you can try and nothing has worked, there's a really strong likelihood that you've made up some theories about why that pain is there and why it won't go away. You might be theorizing and questioning yourself in terms of what is the purpose of this pain? Is the pain there, as we said earlier, as a fire alarm that just isn't reset? Is the pain there because the reality is that these tissues are damaged and therefore I've got to be in pain? Or maybe there's even some other secondary psychological point to it, Tim.
Can I jump right in there, Steve?
Yeah.
One of the reasons it's been theorized why people have chronic pain is because actually physical pain becomes a distraction to underlying psychological pain.
Mm-hmm.
And that in fact, even though you could have miserable back pain and you can't even move, it may be safer for the body. The body might actually think that that is preferable over the real significant emotional and mental pain that you may have that's hidden. And you might not even be aware of that. So I find that super fascinating. I've done a lot of work in that regard, and we're going to be talking about that more up as we go on.
There's a section of the population that I work with, those with fibromyalgia. Some of you might be suffering fibromyalgia yourself. That almost consistently we find that that people who are experiencing fibromyalgia, as Tim just said, are suffering from some kind of an emotional thing for which the pain is actually some kind of a relief. They don't know it; they're not necessarily consciously aware of it. Mm-hmm. But there are things like that. Other things that that we use pain for are to slow us down. Maybe those of us who are over motivated and we can't seem to slow ourselves down. You know, they say you can get it with a feather, you can get it with a brick, or you can get it with a Mack truck. Sometimes you need the Mack truck. Sometimes you just haven't been trained yourself to be the kind of person who could say, okay, maybe I ought to slow down. And so your body says, okay, I'll tell you what, I'm going to give you a whole lot of pain just so that you are going to stop in your tracks. So these are the kinds of things that we want to explore over the next several days and weeks is what are the purposes for which you have experienced pain? May I say just one more thing about that, Tim? I'm just thinking about this idea of what are we telling ourselves about ourselves? What about our self-esteem? Do I tell myself I deserve pain? Do I tell myself that, you know, this is God's punishment? Do I tell myself that there's no reason that I shouldn't have pain? What are the things we're saying to ourselves, and how profound are they in terms of how our bodies literally create that experience?
Yeah, very cool stuff right there. And Steve, do you want to share today's one giant tip to transform your pain?
Absolutely. So guys, one of the things that that Tim said early on is that knowledge, he said knowledge first. He said we start with knowledge. Every day, we're going to give you a transformational tip. And today we're going to do something, a sentence completion exercise that I'm going to encourage you to do over the next couple of days. And based on what Tim said about knowledge first, we're going to have you begin to understand your attitudes towards pain and give you a little more self-knowledge about how you already are experiencing pain so that you can begin the process of transformation toward being empowered and being able to overcome that pain. And the way that works is we're going to ask you all to take a piece of paper, and at the top of the piece of paper, just write the reason I'm in chronic pain is, and then set a timer for 2 minutes. And over the course of 2 minutes, I want you to come up with as many answers to that question as you possibly can. You know, the first answer might be your disease or your condition, or I have pain because I have arthritis. By the way, just because you have arthritis doesn't mean you need to have pain. I have pain because I have fibromyalgia. By the way, just because you have fibromyalgia doesn't mean you have to be in pain. So, but I want you to start with whatever comes to mind and then see where it goes from there. See what other psychological baggage you might be carrying without even realizing it, but it might just sneak out in the process of writing quickly over the course of 2 minutes. Let's see what you discover.
And there's out there, Steve, that totally buy into this, that people heal by writing. And so it's such an important exercise. Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah, well, that's the idea. So as you do this, you're going to discover things for yourself. And we would like to ask you to share the experience with us in your comments the next time we get together. Tell us what you got from that experience. What did you learn? And maybe what kind of relief did you have just by doing that exercise?
Right. And that's just about our time. And by the way, you can ask questions each day live while we're on, or you can drop us an email to Dr. Steve or myself, and that should be up there on the screen, and you can do the emails anytime.
Yeah, by all means, please get in touch with us. We'd love to hear from you. We love your comments. We love your questions. We hope that we've given you some value today. And believe me, we're going to be building on this. And we're also going to be willing to answer questions, as Tim said. So if you have any questions, by all means, feel free to email them to us or be ready to put them in the comments. We'll make sure that we get to them as time allows.
Right. And remember to tune in on Monday, this coming Monday, which is August something or other, 3, 4, for episode 2.
Third, I think it's the 3rd.
Okay, where we ask and answer the question you're probably asking yourself: do I need to have chronic pain? See how that dovetails on today's work we've done?
Absolutely. So it's going to be awesome. And we are going to promise you that you're going to come away feeling really empowered by that.
Yep. And so see you next time. And remember, it's not about your pain. It's about your life.
See you guys.